The story begins in Alaska in an old military base where a nuclear submarine was attacked and captured by next-generation special forces being led by members of FOXHOUND. They demanded that the government turn over the remains of Big Boss, who is kinda their leader, and if not, they would launch a nuclear strike. Solid Snake is sent to rescue DARPA Chief Donald Anderson and the president of Armstech, Kenneth Baker, and those are Weapon Factory's main figures held as hostages. He also must investigate whether or not the terrorists really have the ability to perform a nuclear strike. Turns out that Snake used to be a part of FOXHOUND unit earlier. Now 6 of them are involved in the terrorist activity: Psycho Mantis, Sniper Wolf, Decoy Octopus, Vulcan Raven, Revolver Ocelot, and the squad leader, Liquid Snake. Solid Snake approaches the facility with a SDV. While getting on the deck, Snake overhears a conversation saying that they know he will be sent here. He takes an elevator to the surface. The headquarters are sending 2 F-16s to make a distraction. While waiting for them, Snake discovers a Russian gunship. Thanks to the diversion, he slips inside unnoticed. Then he uses the ventilation system to infiltrate the base. With a cargo elevator, Snake gets on the right level and finds DARPA Chief. Anderson says it's possible that the terrorist can actually launch a nuclear weapon strike. A red-haired girl in the next cell overhears their conversation. Turns out it's not only an old base where the military was keeping the disarmed warheads. There are some classified experiments going on here. What they seem to have here is a nuclear-equipped walking battle tank, aka Project Metal Gear. Turns out Snake is aware of the project as he encountered it already in the past, because he's like a legend of special force units, and he had seen a lot of stuff during the years. So Anderson explains that at this point Metal Gear is almost ready for a mass production, but terrorists have stolen the final prototype called Metal Gear Rex. But that's not even the worst part. See, all nuclear warheads have secret codes for launch, right? Metal Gear has 2 of them. One is known by Anderson and the other by Baker, the guy from the Armstech. Bad news, they already know Anderson's code since FOXHOUND member Psycho Mantis is reading people's minds. So now they only need Bakers to get the party started. And now for the good news. There is a way to stop the launch by inserting a card keys that were designed for emergency shutdown in case of overheating. There are 3 of those, so Snake must find Baker, who probably has them. Anderson thinks Baker might be on 2nd floor. He also gives Snake his ID card that will gain him full access. He starts talking about Pentagon, but before he gets to the point, he receives a weird attack like a stroke or something, and that kills him. Snake calls the colonel and he wants some answers. But the commander doesn't know jack, as he says it's too classified for his rank. Moments later, Snake gets ambushed by a masked female guard who accuses him of killing Anderson. She mistakes him with Liquid Snake at the beginning, and he quickly sees that he deals with a rookie here, so he tries to take advantage, but their tense conversation is interrupted by a special unit entering the corridor. Snake and his new sidekick have to shoot their way out, and yeah, there's a naked person on the floor, so don't be disturbed, probably the girl's stolen his clothes and he's still there. After dealing with the special unit, she escapes, leaving Snake behind, and some mysterious hallucination appears, probably done by Psycho Mantis. Soon Snake finds Kenneth Baker, who clearly is not in his top form. He is trapped with a C4, and while Snake tries to free him, Revolver Ocelot appears. And dear god, this guy is cocky as hell. But he is way too old-fashioned with his Colt that has 6 bullets and needs to be manually reloaded all the time. Anyway, Revolver Ocelot looks for a 2nd round, but someone appears, moving very quickly, and cuts off his hand, freeing Baker at the same time. This guy is not only fast like Times at Richmond High, but he also has a stealth suit. Revolver decides to take a rain check, and the stealth samurai says he has no name, then receives a psychic attack and disappears. Snake at least tries to get code from Baker. Baker explains that he has these implants in his head that made him resistant to Psycho Mantis' mind tricks, but they decided to just torture him the old-fashioned way, and that worked, so now FOXHOUND has 2 codes. Snake is like, dude, you had 1 job, but do you at least have those card keys? Nope, not even close, he already given them to the female rookie soldier from earlier. She told Baker she was a new recruit and she was thrown to prison because she didn't want to join the rebellion. Snake suspects she might be Colonel's niece. Baker reveals that there is one more way to stop missiles, but Snake must find Hal Emmerich, the leader of Metal Gear Rex projects. He might have a clue on that one, or worst case scenario, he will at least know how to destroy them. As for Metal Gear, Baker gives quite a presentation on this one. Long story short, though officially there's peace in the world and no one should be making nukes, in fact everyone does, and the black market is booming, so since the United States didn't want to fall behind, they decided to launch a super secret project of an ultimate nuclear weapon that would protect their supremacy. Baker also gives Snake a disc containing all the data on Metal Gear project and explains that this ninja that interfered earlier was an experimental genome soldier. But before he gets to the good part, he receives an attack similar to the one Anderson had, and it kills him. But before he dies, he blablas something about Pentagon bastards and tries to tell Snake that they are using him or something, but he's gone before he can get to the point. Colonel tells Snake to cooperate with Meryl, who is his niece. Baker also mentioned Naomi. But when Snake asks her what's up, she says, "I don't know anything about anything," and sounds really suspicious. So, Snake gets in touch with Meryl, the Colonel's niece, and when she hears that Snake is actually Snake, she gets excited like he was Justin Bieber or something. But she also says that he looks just like the terrorist leader, the Liquid Snake. She also explains that this is a civilian base and FOXHOUND were called here for the test launching of a dummy nuclear warhead, but instead a rebellion broke, and that gets us to this point. Meryl tells Snake where to find Emmerich. Snake gets to the cargo door to get to the building where Doctor is held. He has info about Tank planning to ambush him from a mysterious caller who introduces himself as Deep Throat. Snake plants mines, and when the tank approaches, it turns out that Vulcan Raven is behind steering wheel. Snake uses grenades and mines to defeat the tank, and he finds the card that he needed. Raven reports to his boss that Snake got the card as planned, so seems like the whole battle was kind of a setup. Snake gets to the warehouse where they keep warheads, so he can't use weapons here. Soon he meets the stealth genome soldier again. Cyborg Ninja says he is neither enemy nor a friend to Snake, but he still wants a battle, because, quote, "I came from another world and only in a battle for life and death with a snake, my soul will find respite." I guess Mantis is not the biggest psycho in this universe anyway. Snake and the Cyborg Ninja have a good old-fashioned fist fight, and Snake whoops his ass. Turns out that they knew each other, and Snake is like, "I thought you died in Zanzibar." Then Cyborg receives another one of these psycho attacks and just runs away. Turns out it's Grey Fox, who actually died in Zanzibar but was recovered and used as a test subject for the gene recovery project. As for Hal Emmerich, he is clueless about putting nuclear missiles on Metal Gear Rex. He actually thought that he was building it for defense purposes. But now he links the dots and says that Metal Gear's co-developer Rivermoor National Labs is working on a new type of nuclear weapon. They only tested it virtually, so what they need was actual data. So this exercise they planned here was designed to test the real thing. Emmerich explains to Snake where to find Rex and tells him to hurry up. Snake finds Meryl. She has only one card key from Baker, so they need to find the remaining two.
Where are the others? There should be 3 keys.
While on that, Meryl receives a psychic attack, but not like the killing one. After she gets over it, she acts kinda weird, and very soon she tries to kill Snake because Psycho Mantis got into her mind and controls her. Snake knocks her out, Mantis appears and introduces himself, and it turns out he can levitate and stuff. When the duel doesn't go well for Mantis, he again tries to use Meryl. Mantis sees that she is actually Snake's weak point, as they were kind of flirting from the moment she actually discovered Snake is Snake. So Psycho tries to make her kill herself, but Snake prevents that and gets really pissed, so he shoots Psycho Mantis. Defeated Mantis actually tells Snake how to find a way to Metal Gear through the hidden door. He also explains that he is a maniac because of his childhood. Well, I guess they always are. So please, surround your kids with love and patience. And finally Mantis dies in a feeling of some kind of a redemption. Snake and Meryl are on their way to stop the launching, but all of a sudden, she gets shot in the leg out of nowhere. and moments later she receives another bullet. Well, this doesn't look good, and clearly snipers are using Meryl as a bait. She wants Snake to leave her, but he decides to save her and takes a risk dueling Sniper Wolf, who is on the tower. Snake manages to overpower Sniper Wolf, but soon he is cornered by soldiers and Sniper Wolf shows up. Snake gets captured. When he wakes up, he is on some kind of operation table, hearing a voice. The man says that Snake has stolen something from him. Turns out he is Liquid Snake. He wants Snake DNA to use it in the Genome Soldiers project. Liquid receives a call from Raven reporting that the US doesn't want to negotiate with them. That means terrorists will launch a nuke in like 10 hours. Liquid leaves Solid with Revolver Ocelot for investigation. Ocelot tries to electroshock him, but that doesn't work, so he puts him in a cell. In the corner, there's a body of Darfur Chief. Turns out that Colonel actually knew what was going on right from the beginning, so Snake kinda runs out of people he can really trust. Ocelot takes him for another round of questioning, but since Snake doesn't want to talk, he decides to share his part of the story, revealing that Russians want to buy the nuclear weapon system. Back in the cell, Snake calls Naomi and Colonel, and turns out Big Boss was his father, and Liquid is kinda his brother. Snake thought he killed Big Boss back in Zanzibar 6 years ago. Also, Grey Fox was Big Boss' most trusted lieutenant, and to Snake he was like a mentor and a teacher or something like that. But at one point they got contracts from opposite sides, so they had to fight each other, because they both take their job way too seriously. Emery shows up and helps Snake to get out of the cell. Snake tries to get back to Meryl, but she's gone. And Snake is so sad that for a few minutes his intercom turns into a support group to lift up his spirits. Finally he gets to the roof and the base receives an airstrike. That's Liquid Snake in a chopper who tries to kill Snake, but he manages to escape. Back in the base he meets Emmerich again, and this guy is pretty weird. He asks some questions like, "Have you ever been in love with someone?" and stuff like that. Snake gets a bit suspicious about him and he asks him to fix the broken elevator. Meanwhile, Solid gets back on the roof for a second round with Liquid, but this time he has a grenade launcher, so he shoots him down and the chopper crashes.
See you in hell, Liquid.
Snake tries to get to Metal Gear. Sniper Wolf shows up and tries to shoot him, and Emmerich starts acting like he loves her or something, asking Snake not to kill her, but since there's no other way to win this duel, Snake doesn't listen to him and just does the job. As she dies, she reveals that Meryl is alive and has her own redemption moment like Psycho before. Snake goes underground and his mentor calls, saying that this girl Naomi looks like she might be a spy. And then Snake is surrounded by ravens, so guess who is right around the corner? Yep, Vulcan Raven. And I guess at this point Kojima was really running out of ideas for before duel dialogues.
Your ancestors too were raised on the barren plains of Mongolia. Inuit and Japanese are cousins to each other. We share many ancestors, you and I.
I don't have any crows in my family tree.
You jest, but indeed ravens and snakes are not the best of friends. It is an event where two opponents pull each other's ears while enduring the harsh cold. It tests spiritual as well as physical strength.
Okay, whatever. Snake wins, puts another FOXHOUND member 6 feet under. Meanwhile, it turns out that Naomi is full of crap and she can't be trusted, and Snake finally finds Metal Gear. Emmerich says that he tried to hack Baker's computer and he finds out that this warhead is designed to be fired from a railgun, so technically it's not considered a missile, and that way it overpasses the international treaties. Plus, it's stealth, so it can be captured while fired. So whoever gets his hands on this baby, he will basically rule the world. And by the way, Liquid Snake is alive, and he discusses launching the nuke on the China nuclear test site. That way, USA will have to admit they have this weapon, but since no one gets killed, that won't start an instant war. Well, I have to admit, that's kinda smart. And when others find out about Metal Gear, they would wanna have it, and who they gonna call? That's right, FOXHOUND. So, USA will agree to their demands and will give them Big Boss DNA and the money. They need money for their Genome Soldier project, and Big Boss DNA will also help in the process, and after that they are still planning to sell Metal Gear to Russians anyway. God damn it, this plan is really evil, and that's not even it, because Liquid actually wants to scam everyone and make an ally with Specna's colonel, but he really wants to build himself a fortress here so they can keep money, DNA, Metal Gear, and basically rule the world from this place. While Snake is being briefed about the deactivation procedure, he is spotted by Revolver Ocelot, who shoots the key out of his hand. It falls down and Snake gets compromised. And there's this little thing about those keys. It turns out there's like 3 in 1. The card can change shapes under different temperatures. Thankfully, Snake finds the key he lost. Now all he needs to do is to use it on 3 computers to deactivate the missile launch. Also, this Fox Die weapon is revealed. Ocelot and Liquid were mentioning it, but now Snake's mentor calls and says it's like a virus that can be programmed to kill specific targets. He also suspects that Naomi might have injected Snake with it. At the same time, Colonel reports that she probably was working with terrorists and he arrested her. But she calls Snake and explains that Frank Yeager, aka Grey Fox, was her brother. Like, not real brother, but a guy who saved her life and took care of her while she was a little girl, as she was an orphan and she would probably die of hunger or something like that. Then Big Boss showed up and took them both to America. But the main thing is that Snake killed Grey Fox, who was closest that Naomi had to a family. So that's her motive. But in the process of waiting for her chance to get a revenge, she actually got to know Snake a little better and she changed her mind a bit. She also confirms that Fox Die works and she drops the big bomb, revealing to Snake that she wasn't the one who injected him with the virus. It was Colonel's job. Snake tries to finish that deactivation, but he actually activates it. And it turns out that his master is actually working for the FOXHOUND, and he was the one who manipulated Snake into activating those missiles. But Colonel says that's not really Master Miller, because his body was just found and this impostor was actually Liquid Snake pretending to be Master Miller. Soon Snake confronts him and Liquid says that Pentagon sending him to rescue hostages was only a cover-up, and his real mission was to spread the virus and kill the Armtech president and FOXHOUND. But it turns out that both Snakes and Ocelot are somehow resistant to the virus. Anyways, Liquid hates Solid guts, because Big Boss made them both by playing with genes, but turns out Solid was the golden boy and Liquid was like a side effect of this project. But it was Solid who actually killed Big Boss, so now Liquid hates Solid for taking away his chance to kill Big Boss. I hope you keep up the tempo. Finally, after this twisted family reunion, Liquid jumps into Metal Gear Rex and fights Solid, who tries to damage the machine, and all of a sudden Grey Fox shows up and helps him in the combat. He also confesses that he took care of Naomi back in the days because he killed her parents, but he just couldn't kill her, so he decided to raise her. Then Grey Fox sacrifices himself to break the Metal Gear Rex. His act exposes Liquid and gives Snake a chance to take a clear shot at him and destroy the machine. The explosion hits Snake and he loses consciousness for a moment, but it turns out it didn't kill Liquid. So they have chance for one more chit-chat, this time explaining their nature and how they were made from cells of the greatest known soldier, Big Boss. Out of 8 children made that way, only 2 survived, Liquid and Solid. They have the same DNA and that makes them twins. But they made Liquid like a prototype for testing and Solid was the final product. The next level of this project are genome soldiers who carry the same genes as Snakes. But they turn out to be a failure and they die due to the side effects. So Liquid's plan is to get those Big Boss's genes that made him and Solid and save the genome soldiers as he considers them his brothers. Also, remember Meryl? She's here and waits to be saved. Meanwhile, the Colonel reports that the US government is sending everything they have to destroy this base and cover up the whole thing before it goes public. Classic US government. Colonel says that he will buy Snake some time to escape by holding the bombing. But before he can do that, Secretary of Defense shows up, and there goes the colonel's sweet little diversion. So, Solid and Liquid have a good old-fashioned fistfight on the top of Metal Gear Rex, and that ends with Solid pushing him down and saving Meryl. Snake finds a way out before the whole place gets nuked. He takes Meryl, jumps into a jeep and drives like crazy to make it out alive. But Liquid Snake is still alive, and he chases them. The cars crush each other right at the exit gate. Solid and Meryl are okay, but Liquid also made it alive, and he has them at gunpoint. But just when he is about to shoot, FOXHOUND starts affecting him, and he finally gets killed by this virus. Meanwhile, the colonel contacted the president himself and compromised the Secretary of Defense plans, and it turns out that the president didn't know anything, so the secretary got arrested and the nuclear attack on the base was stopped. Snake and Colonel established that Snake will officially be considered killed in action, so he can disappear. Snake asks Naomi will the FOXHOUND that just killed Liquid also kill him, and she says, well, you should choose to live, and gives him a lecture about genes that is not answering this question at all. But at least he found a jet ski so he can take Meryl for a ride and make her legs shake with a nice little speech about how he is ready for a grown-up relationship. And as a proof, he tells her his real name. It's Dave. Then he puts a pedal to the metal towards the rising sun. And that's how the game ends. But after the credits, there's an audio recording of a conversation between Revolver Ocelot and the president. Revolver confirmed that he retrieved the Metal Gear data. He also confirmed FOXHOUND virus is active on Snake, and from the context of this conversation we learn that the president is actually the third product of the project that made Solid and Liquid, but no one knows about his existence, and he is called Solidus.